from was Martin Seligman, who was the president of the American Psychological Association in the year 2000. And they said, Martin, what's your platform going to be? And he said, I think maybe positive psychology, because there was just a lot of information coming out about being positive. But it really is the science of happiness, and they are actually doing a lot of research on this. So some of this material comes from Martin Seligman, who I had the joy of meeting. And he is not a smiley, happy person by nature, by the way. In fact, when I saw him, I thought, wow, I'm a little surprised, because I thought positivity, you just always have a big smile on your face. And the reason he got so interested is for years he'd been a psychologist where he brought people from negative to 0 and then said, good, you're fine to go now, you can survive. And he said, but wouldn't it be better if we didn't just survive, but if we could thrive? And wouldn't it be better if we had a more positive world? And so that was where all of this came from. And he realized we only have sort of a 1 to 100 ratio of happiness that we hear out there. Think about the news. They do all this news and you're just kind of depressed if you're listening to it very carefully. And then at the very end, they give you that little crumb of happiness, right? They end on a happy note. Okay. Are genetics 100% of your positivity? True or false? False. False. Okay. You're absolutely right. So what percentage comes from genetics? Do you know? 10? Higher.
40%.
40? Higher? 50%. Okay. So 50% comes from genetics. So what's the other 50%? 10% is your circumstances and 10%. Only 10%. 40% is your choice. Your choice. So your child could come home and just have a horrible, terrible day and doesn't like the teacher and doesn't like the kids and doesn't like the school and it's just awful, awful, awful and my whole world is just a mess. And that's only 10% of his actual happiness. It's not 100%. Although at that moment he thinks it probably is. So it's kind of like the swimming pool. If you inherit a swimming pool, you're stuck with a certain diameter and depth. And what are you going to do with that swimming pool? You're going to sit on the edge and dangle your feet and say, well, I can't swim, so I'm not going to do anything with this pool. Or are you going to hop in, you're going to learn how to pool, are you going to swim, you're going to swim laps, are you going to invite your friends in, are you really going to thoroughly enjoy that pool? And that's what we're talking about with happiness. You're only given a certain amount, but you have 50% to play with. So, with parents sometimes we look at achievement, right? What's the thing, what do we look at on the report card? Marks. Didn't get very good. I actually knew somebody who would say to his child who was a really good student, what happened to the other 10%? You got 90, what happened to the other 10%? And he thought it was funny, and I thought, nah, that's not so funny. But the thing that we're not sometimes looking at as carefully is the character. So where do we see the character on the report?
No. That's still section.
Yeah, all it's written about. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all those things. Oh, and sometimes I've seen kids where they open their report card, looked at the 2 marks that they're interested in, and closed the report card and walked away, right? Not interested in anything but the math and science in this case. So the whole idea is kind of backwards, the way we have been. I know I was certainly raised in an era where, you got the marks and the kid with the top mark got all the honors and everything else. And, that we had a kid in our class who was really annoying. Got good marks, but character-wise, not so good, right? And I still remember her name. She was the type of person who would come to you in high school and say, so what did you get? And if you gave her your mark and it was higher than hers, she walked away. If it was not higher than hers, then she made sure that you knew what the mark was. That's not good character. That's all achievement, right? So we're often saying, when you achieve this, then you'll be happy. And what we want you to start doing is, how can we achieve happiness so that we can start achieving other things in our lives? How can we be happy with our character and build our character? And what they find is, the people who are happy tend to be more successful than the other way around. So all these years, we've had it wrong. to write that. Character can be built up through resilience, through compassion, as you saw today, Craig Kielberger's compassionate heart as a child, or flexible thinking, where we can learn to say positive things instead of always the first negative thing that comes to mind. How many of you as parents will often say no as your answer, right? And then you go back and think about it, and think, maybe, and then you turn and say yes. Right? Okay, so the flexible thinking is to get to the yes. We're not going to actually talk about that today because we have 1 hour, and I want to talk about resilience because that is a good topic to begin with. So this is what we're going to do in the next hour quickly. So, what is resilience? You tell me. What's resilience?
The ability to bounce back after a negative experience.
Bouncing back, right? Okay. So your child, if they can do these things, they can be a pretty resilient kid. By the way, who has kids in high school here? Okay, who has elementary? So mixture, all right. Because I think originally they were going to do it elementary first and then high school, but that wasn't on there, so it's a mishmash, which is fine. I'm still going to tell you the gerbil story because it's kind of cute. So, high school, you may not have this so much with high school, but you can translate. We go on family vacations, and one vacation, I think our granddaughter was 8 or 9 years old, and she is an animal lover and wants to be a veterinarian. So every animal is very important to her, including her little gerbil, who died when we were on vacation. And so it's like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? She died on Wednesday, we weren't coming home till Saturday, so do we tell the child in the middle of the vacation? So all the adults, the grandparents, the aunts, and we all got together and said, no, let's not ruin her vacation. So then it was, but when she gets home, the first thing she's going to do is walk to the cage to see the baby. So we decided that we would drive home, and about an hour away from home, we would say, oh, we have to have coffee. And so we stopped with the coffee, and that is when we told her that her gerbil had died. And we were all very, very sad. We were all in tears, and so clearly it was affecting us. It was a very stressful moment. She cried all the way home and went to the gerbil cage, and of course was upset, didn't sleep well that night. And that was on the weekend, and by Monday she was starting to talk about the gerbil that she was going to get. And they started in terms of, okay, we'll get another gerbil, and life goes on. That's a resilient child. Okay? So we're not saying we can't be sad. We do have stress, but how fast can they bounce back? How can they get through that stress? Are they going to sit and cry or mope or do whatever? In university, for you high school parents, in university they have something called, I believe, because I work with the Dons, I think they call it the turkey dump. Anybody know what that means? Educate the rest of them.
That's when you and your boyfriend, girlfriend back home, and come home at Thanksgiving and you break up because a long distance relationship isn't working.
Right? And so it's a very sad time they actually got the term for it.
Sorry, we couldn't hear.
So you have some kids.
We couldn't hear her.
The turkey dump is after Thanksgiving when they go home for Thanksgiving for the first time. The boyfriend or girlfriend dumps them. So they come back to school and they see all, and we work with the Dons to get them to know how to counsel these poor kids because it's going to happen. So how fast can they get through, right? And so hopefully they will realize that that was really awful and really miserable, but it's short time, and look at all those other people in university that I've never met before that could become my boyfriend, girlfriend. So that's where they're trying to go with that. Okay, and some of them don't bounce back too easily, by the way, because they haven't learned resilience. So it's good to teach them now before they hit school, university. Okay, why resilience? Why do we look at resilience when I'm talking about positivity? Okay, Barbara Fredrickson is a person I've met, did a course with, and she says, positivity we've discovered is at the heart of human resilience. Aha, so that's why we learn about resilience and why it all makes sense to have positive kids. Okay? What do you think? All babies are born with resilience? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Not always the same amount of resilience. resilience. All babies can float, but some can float better, and it's the same with resilience, apparently. Okay. Can we help our children be more resilient? What do you think?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes. So we have a job ahead of us. If we haven't been starting to do this, we have a job to talk them, another job. Isn't parenting fun? Isn't it great? Okay, so how can we as adults, as parents, as grandparents, as aunts and uncles, model resistance? That's the whole question, right? We need to model it to begin with in order to teach it to them. So, we want to look at what it is, how we can promote abilities, what it isn't, and how we can increase resilience. All right, so the abilities. Now this is on page 1, the different abilities. You can, if you turn that over, you can write it in, you can do whatever, you can just sit and listen, that's okay too. All right, so these are the kinds of things, and there are other abilities, but just to sort of sit back and say, wow, okay, these are the kinds of things that we need to help our kids with in order to let them know that that they are able to do this. They are able to be resilient. So, controlling impulses. What do I mean by that? Anybody have an impulsive kid? No? Okay, what's your impulsive kid do sometimes? Anything that you can share with us?
Literally just walk off the top of the fire, no thought. Has broken arms 3 times.
Okay, it's kind of like flying off the top of a roof.
Check their notifications.
Check their notifications. What is that?
So every time something beeps, the impulsive behavior is we want to check that, even though that's not the time to be doing that.
Yes, yes. Major problems with social media, right? Yeah, drives me crazy. I grew up in an era where we actually didn't have any, and we survived.
In the middle of this serious discussion, I sort of have to all of a sudden jump from one question to the next, pretending that I was lava. So, in the middle of a serious discussion, so
Yeah.
he doesn't like to sit still.
Okay, so thinking to do the marshmallow challenge. Anybody know the marshmallow challenge? Okay, do you want to tell us what it is? You have to speak up though.
We did an experiment to see if kids can have, I guess, patience. And we said you could have 2 marshmallows. There's 1 marshmallow in front of you. If you sit quietly and just for 10 minutes, you could have 2 at the end of this experiment. And a lot of the kids ate the marshmallow, they could not wait. And a lot of the kids didn't. And they are shown in the future that they actually are more successful.
Yeah, they actually, that was a 4-year-old they did that with. And some of them licked it. They didn't eat it, but they smelled it and they were like on the table, lifting it. You didn't say I couldn't do that. And then others were just sitting there like looking, staring at it. And so 14 years later they went back and found that the kids who could keep their hands off of it, maybe not their tongues, were actually better with frustration. So teaching them to control it is really an important piece of raising your child. So how can we do that? How can we encourage them? And this is when somebody said, well, I'm not so good in traffic. Right? I'm not so good at traffic. I make comments, I do things. Anybody stand in line at Starbucks and say, why is it so long? I order black coffee, and the person in front of me will order 4 or 5 long. By the time they get it all, even just saying it takes them forever. And I'm like, I just want a black coffee, right? And I have actually said I think we should have an express line for people who just want black coffee. So that's not really, that's kind of an impulse that I have to be careful about. And so how can we help our kids? What can we say when they didn't take the marshmallow? What did those researchers say to them? Okay, they were actually complimenting them, right? So you compliment your child when they do not act on the impulse. So we want to look at the positive stuff. When they don't act on the impulse, when they finally get it, that maybe I could wait a moment and get double, then, me first all the time doesn't work. And that starts at a really, really, really young age. But that's mine, and me first, and I want all this. And, maybe making the way to get it two instead of one candy. It can be that easy. And at Starbucks, when I get really frustrated because of the lineup, I start to smile at the person behind the counter. Any of you have been on the other side of the counter serving big lineups? Any of you been there? I have, and it wasn't fun, because you have all these snarling people. So I started to smile at them, and then when they gave me the coffee, say, how's your day going? Or a busy day. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, somebody actually acknowledged that I am a person, not a robot trying to get coffee for you. Regulating emotions. What kinds of emotions do we have? What kinds of emotions are we allowed to have? Do we have negative emotions? Do we have positive emotions? Are we allowed to express both? Remember, this is like based on cognitive psychology. Can we have negative emotions? Yes. It's all part of the human being, right? So we're not talking about always smiling. Sometimes you're going to get angry. Any of you have a really angry kid in the last week, maybe? Every day? Okay. What was your angry kid doing? If you could share.
Which time? Writing homework. That was one reason I didn't want to do homework. Just fought it all, got angry, shouted, cried.
Okay. Okay. So, if we say calm down, does that help? I have seen this in this car. Calm down, calm down, calm down, and the child screamed even louder. So, being angry is acceptable behavior, acceptable feeling. Acting out on it, bad behavior, is not acceptable. And we need to tell them that is not acceptable. What is acceptable if you're really, really angry is doing things like calming down, but telling them how to calm down. So how do we calm down? We get angry. How should we be calming ourselves down? Any ideas?
I actually started using it after my daughter's kindergarten teacher taught her. It's smell the flowers and blow out the candles. So they take deep breaths and breathe out, but it works because you can do it from a distance and you can do it from anywhere.
I read about that.
It was
How
so smart.
Kindergarten. So you can teach your little kids and your big ones.
I was just going to say that we just went to an open house at my daughter's school. She's in kindergarten, and the teacher feedback to us is that she can go from 0 to 100 degrees, like get really mad really fast. And she found that, like with most kids, they do time minutes 9. I don't know what time it is, but with her, she actually says, I need a timeout, and then she's good at bringing herself back. But they have no idea how she got there in the first place.
So you need to work on that.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the behavior that it's not that you can't express, we're all going to have these negative feelings, we can't be positive, but that behavior is the piece that we're not accepting, the bad behavior, so what's good behavior? And I read that with kindergarten kids and thought, gee, I wish I'd known that when my kids were 2. How to do it is so simple, but for us, it's basically just deep breathing, counting, that kind of thing where you're taking your mind off that anger for momentarily and calming yourself down. It doesn't go away what is making you angry, but your behavior is calming down so you can start to think. You can't think straight when you are screaming, or someone said, throwing things in the last session. Oh, should I duck? I'm not sure if it was throwing, I'm hoping it wasn't him. Even sometimes with children who are maybe very visual, maybe drawing your frustration. Something to give them something to do other than screaming and, in the playground, it's slapping and pushing. That's where it all starts. And if they get away with it once, they will try and get away with it forever, right? So we don't want that behavior. All right, so the next one, adopt optimism. And again, sometimes we think, oh, does that mean we put a blind eye to the negative things that are happening? Well, no, we don't. So what do we do when we're adopting optimism? Anybody have an idea? What does that mean?
Think positively. It's highly hard.
having hope? Think positively. Yeah. It's taking that cup that's half empty and looking at it as half full, right?
Like, with my child, what I try to do, like, he's always, because he has anxiety, I'm like, okay, we're gonna run out of gas and this and that when we're driving. So the way I try to deal with it, I would tell him, okay, let's see, the other options available, so we don't think negative, we think positive. It could be, we could get to gas station, we could call for help, we could do this, we want you to ask all this. So what I would say in this, like, kind of think of other positive options that,
Give them hope,
yeah.
which is exactly what you said. Give them some hope. There's hope that there's a gas station around the corner, there always is, right? I mean, now we're talking about electric cars. Well, if I get an electric car, where am I going to plug it in? And the other day I was at a function with McMaster, and there were 5 places for electric car plug-ins. And I'm like, wow, I have to keep driving. One of these days it's going to be the whole road. So, you know, it all starts to come, and telling your child that will help. So it's having that, adopting that hopeful look at life. So when we go on vacation as a family, we go to Vermont frequently, and lately we've been all going, and in our minds, when we talk about going to Vermont in the summer, this is what's in our minds. But where we go is in the mountains, and so every day is not quite sunshine. So the littlest one, who was 8, was saying, one day we were sitting at the table, it was a beautiful day, and she turns to her cousin and says, so on Wednesday, let's do da-da-da-da-da, some outdoor thing. And the cousin, who was a little older and a little wiser, don't you know, says, well, we could do that on Wednesday, but, you know, it may rain, because it does rain in the mountains, and so we may have to go shopping that day. And who do you think she got that from, right? Her mother said it to her, and I had said it to her mother, because we have been doing this for, we're the 4th generation, I think, that are going to this area. But that is having that optimism and that hope that on Wednesday we can do that, but the plan is, if we can't do that, we're going to do this. So putting a plan in, that's adopting optimism. That's not putting your head in the sand and saying, well, it's just going to be sunny. We know it's going to be sunny. It's always going to be sunny. So helping your child by saying, let's hope and have an action plan if it doesn't happen, right? So that's telling them that it isn't always going to be great. So when we get back to that turkey dump, the Dons are the ones who are sort of the supervisors within the residences, so if you have a problem, you go to them. And so, you know, they were always prepared to say, well, how about if you join some other groups here, and things that they could now do with the hope that they would meet somebody else and have a decent life. So they always have a plan in place before Thanksgiving weekend ever came. Okay. Next one, reaching out. So sometimes kids don't want to reach out and have new opportunities. Sometimes it's forced on them. They move to a different school, high school comes, so they have to move up to high school. And all of these things, and high school is going to go to university is going to go to jobs. So learning how to reach out at a very young age is very, very helpful for your child in taking on opportunities. And so we have some of the kids in our family will say things like, oh, did you join the running team? Oh, no, I'm not good at running. I can't run. No, I can't run. So they're thinking of all these, you know, the starters that they see on TV with these really fast Kenyan runners, and my daughter's a marathon runner, and so some of the little ones go, oh, no, I can't do that, I can't do that. But how are they going to ever grow and develop if they don't reach out and they don't try? So if they come home and say, gee, my friend joined the running team, and you say, did you join the running team? And you get this, well, no, I'm not very good at it, I can suck at it, all these kinds of things. And that might be where you would say, well, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you suck at it? Right? And they'll say, well, I'm 5. And you say things like, okay, well, you're 5, that's great, because you're not a 0, you're not a 1. And that immediately is like, oh, oops. what would you do? Well, first I'd have to join a team. I'd have to go and do the running. I'd have to join the after-school team. Yeah. And then what would you do? And so you get them to start thinking in terms of, oh, well, I could do that, right? And I think you also have to say, you're not always going to be the top banana. Yeah, someone was, oh, it must have been the other one, they were saying Michael Jordan's, there's a video of Michael Jordan where he was talking about the other side of the glory and fame he has, and all the times he didn't do well, and all the mistakes he made. And that's the kind of thing that would be great to show your child that, you know, life is not about being the top one all the time. Reach out and try things, and maybe, you know, maybe you become Michael Jordan, but that's not necessarily true. Does anybody else have an example of what's happening with their kids, maybe, where you encourage them?
Just a story that I'd like to share. So I have a 5-year-old in SK, and he's a bit of a perfectionist. He thinks he should be the best at everything. And just recently, well, I've been ingraining in his brain, you have to make mistakes to do better. If you don't make the mistakes, you're never gonna, you don't really learn anything, your learning stops. So, you know, you just ingrain it. Finally, he's playing a game with his 3-year-old brother, and his 3-year-old brother is getting frustrated. How come I can't do that? Practice makes perfect. You have to make mistakes to get better. And I was like, what?
So your 5-year-old said that?
That's my 5-year-old.
Your 5-year-old said to the 3-year-old, practice makes perfect.
Yeah. So just a really nice thing to hear.
Yeah. When you're modeling something or you're telling your child something and then that child turns to another child and is teaching what you just taught, you know you've done a good job. You know you're really getting there, right? Because it can be very difficult sometimes to know whether you've actually done your job. And that's when, wow, you got it. And he's only 5. Okay. All right, anybody else? I thought there was another, yes.
I'm a teacher in Peel, and I know that in Halton they use the same terminology. There's a big push for growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. So rather than children thinking, I can't do that, it's more, well, I can't do that yet. And this is impossible, rather than that say, well, it's not impossible if I practice and I try. And so as a phys ed teacher, I think when I have to pick teams, you know, you have 100 kids trying out for a team and 12 are going to make it, but you just, at the outset, you say, you know, guys, there's going to be 12 people on a team. So we know, you know that's going to be very difficult to make the team, but the fact that you're coming and you're having fun and just really breaking that piece down, that we're really there to learn and grow as people. And if you don't make the team this year, maybe you will next year. And I think kids need to know that it's not about being there right now, but that it's a work in progress.
Right. And I think we as parents are sometimes putting that on them to make the team. So there's the achievement piece that we are constantly wanting them to do. And meanwhile, what have they done character-wise? We were talking a bit about that with the character, even having fun, like learning how to have fun. Isn't it more fun to try out on the team than to go home by myself and sit and watch YouTube all for the hour after school? Which is what some children do. Some introverts need some time away, and I understand that. But there are fun things that they can be doing, and they may not make the team, but all that stuff that they learned that's not acknowledged very often by anybody. So you're acknowledging it before they even start. Give it a try. Give it a whirl. And sometimes the child who thinks they can't do it is the child who ends up doing it. Not necessarily because they have more skill than the next one, but because they took you at your word and said, practice, practice, practice. So I'm going to go out and do some practicing. And that's what we're talking about with practicing being happy. It's not going to happen overnight. Martin Seligman himself was apparently doing a training session on positivity, and his own child called him out later on it and said, well, you're not the most positive dad around. Right? and he writes about this. He actually puts it in. He writes about this, and he said, well, actually, I really wasn't the most positive dad So he was just basically saying, I'm human, I'm learning, and it is growing, we are all growing. The good news is our brain cells can actually change, and there was a point when we all thought that, you know, what you had is what you had, and you were stuck with that, and the brain cells change. And Dr. Amen writes, what is change the brain, you can change your brain, something like that he writes about. And he's the fellow that actually looks at the brain through MRIs all the time and has found remarkable things that are going on that continue to go on even when we're old, like me as a grandmother. Okay, so the next one is self-efficacy. And, you know, as I got to, I think, point 4 downstairs with Mark, and then I came up to get this ready. And I thought, wow, it's like as if we were on the same wavelength when he was talking about the equation. Anybody remember what the equation was? Issue, change the world. Okay? Gift, issue, change the world. Okay. So what we're teaching in that whole thing is self-efficacy. I was born to do something. I was born to make a difference. I was born to have an impact on the world, and yes, I do want to leave a legacy. I sometimes work with people who are going to retire from their lifetime career, and they look at me and it's like the end of the world. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And then they start talking and saying, okay, I can do this, I can do this. And usually out of that conversation comes, I want to leave a legacy, Kate. What am I going to do that leaves a legacy? And they start thinking, well, maybe I haven't done enough, maybe I haven't done enough, maybe I should. And these are the times where they'll start to really get involved with something like what Craig and Mark are talking about. Maybe we need to bring water to Africa. Maybe we need to do this, because all of a sudden they feel like, wow, life has just gone by and I haven't really done anything to make an impact. And so let's start now. So I'm thinking, wow, we just got taught today to do this with our little ones, do this with our kids, so that they can start realizing that making a difference, I don't have to wait till I'm 70 to start making a difference. I can make a difference at the age of 9 or 10. And so I thought that was really cool, the way he had an equation for it. I love the equation. So I've often heard Olympians, I actually met Mark Tewksbury a couple of weeks ago, just as lovely, and for anybody met Mark? Just as lovely a person as he appears to be. Taking pictures with everybody and talking and just being a lovely guy. And you know, some of the concerns that he had as he was trying to get to where he wanted to go. And you hear these Olympians, wow, I watched, when I was a little kid of 6, I watched the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, and said, I want to ski like that, I want to win gold for Canada. And you'll hear the Olympians actually having, at a very young age, saying, I want to do that. And it's not just about being the best for me, but there's this whole, you know, being part of something bigger than me and winning a gold for Canada. I worked with a woman whose husband was one of the trainers of the Olympians in the 90s, I think. And she said, I actually had the opportunity to not only go to the Olympics with them, but to walk in the stadium with all of our Canadian Olympians at the time. And she said, even though I wasn't a trainer, I wasn't an Olympian, it was just overwhelming, the emotion that came up, and how proud I was to be a Canadian, and how I knew that this group of people were going to leave a legacy. And it was really just one of those moments that will always stay with her. So how can we help our kids have this? Well, he gave us the equation, right? Look for their gift and something that really is an issue for them, and then encourage them to go out and change the world. Okay, anybody have an idea of how they could help their kids do something? Or has any kid done something?
Well, my son, he wants to do something. I think it's a matter of finding it. He's been bullied. He's in grade 6 now. He's badly been bullied for 5 years, and he's struggled a lot with the district school board and getting something put in place. And his thought thought was in grade 4, his big challenge was, I said either we make an example and we do something about it, or we move you out of the school system. And he said, I don't want anybody to feel the way I did when we change. So we need to find a way to do that.
Wow, wow. I don't want anybody else to feel like I did. So he's going to take that hurt and do something with it. You just have to figure out what it is. Okay. So if anybody's in this room who knows how that might, how she might do that, maybe connect with, what's your name?
Christine.
With Christine afterwards. Go downstairs to, we have a book for sale, my husband's down there. Go and talk to him for that. He was a principal. So he's, and he used to teach principals how to stop bullying at one point.
I was just gonna say that my son last year, he's in grade 2, he had a great idea about, he likes to take pictures of Lego bags and put them in positions. He wrote a book, he put it in a binder form, and he went to the school and he asked the librarian, he goes, I want to put this in the library, I want to put this in the library. So he thought it would be great if he would go and ask the librarian if he could put it. She ended up saying, no, it's so great, why don't you take it back home? But I thought to myself that that would be a great idea to bring students together, like you were saying. If they had a section where students can actually make their own library books, put it in, stays in there for a week, they read each other's work, bring it back, and I thought that would be such a great idea. And I myself went and I thought it would actually do something to bring students together, like to see the work that they could do. But when I suggested that to the teacher or whatever, they kind of turned it down. But I thought, well, you know what, maybe it was just a people. We're switching our son to another school now. He's a little upset about it, but he's going to be starting next week another school because we just don't like this one. But I'm hoping that maybe we could get into that. Yeah, we'll get into that. But I'm hoping that we can bring.
So sometimes you get a no, but that doesn't, and this is a learning moment. You get a no, but that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to do this. And maybe there's another way. I imagine that Craig and Mark have probably had a few doors slammed in their face, right? They probably went to neighbors who said, I don't think so.
Just a reminder, presenters, that there are now 10 minutes left remaining in session B.
10 or 15? Okay. All right. So those are different things that we have talked about now. What it isn't. It is not about being invulnerable. We're all vulnerable. Things happen. We get bullied. We have gerbils die. Things happen. But if you're always going to try and say, I'm too vulnerable, I can't get hurt, then you're not helping yourself or your child. So you know that there's going to be hurt that now we need to help get over it. It is not about isolation from risk. So a calculated risk, of course. It was a risk the first day that you put your child into somebody else's arms. Do you remember when you left your child with the first babysitter, the first nanny, the first daycare? I used to work in a private school, and the parents of the junior kindergarten kids would come and cry in my office. The first day, every time, it would be packed with people crying in my office, and they kept saying, you know what? Your kids are better already in there than what you are right here. They're probably not crying. Most of them weren't crying. So we have to take a risk. Perfection. It's not about perfection. It's not about the fear of making mistakes. We all make mistakes. And when we as adults make mistakes, it's good for our kids to see that we made a mistake and how we get over it, right? Many times I used to say, I'm sorry to my kids. I made a mistake. And I would apologize if I got angry with them. I would apologize later. Don't take chances. If you don't take a chance, you're never going to learn, grow, go to the next step in your life. You can't keep them in a bubble. All right. So we want to look at how we increase resilience. And on page 2, there are 24 characteristics. You can probably choose 4 or 5 that are really good that your child would have. And think about how you can spot those strengths. So instead of looking at, oh, he can't do this and he can't do that and he can't do something else, and sometimes he'll say that to you or she'll say that to you, you look at, okay, what is your strength? How do I spot those strengths and how do I treat those strengths positively. And so you may see 4 or 5 things on there. Now, why would we look at things positively instead of the weaknesses which we've been taught over the years? We've been taught to look at the weaknesses. Okay, just do a really quick exercise with me. Choose 2 people, so pair up. Just look at the person across from you or beside you. Person A, the birthday closest to today, which is October 15th. Okay, so check when your birthday is. Alright, so person A has the birthday closest to today. Person B, you just sit there and let person A do all the work. Person A is going to have a happy birthday soon, right? Okay, person A, I want you to look at person B and just judge that person. You've got a brown coat on, maybe it would be better if it was black. Right? You have 5 buttons, maybe you should have no buttons. Okay, that was just a look. So next look, person A, you have just bumped into your best friend at the airport. You have not seen that best friend for 10 years. You are so excited and so happy, and this is your best friend. So how are you going to look at your best friend? You've just seen her after 10 years. You've just met him in the airport. Do I see big smiles? Which face does your child see every day at the end of school? Which one? Are you building him up by looking at the strengths that he has, or are you looking at the report card saying, you got 80, what happened to the other 20? Maybe you better work on this, right? So which way, what are you doing? Toni Morrison was one of the people who first pointed this out years ago, but that's exactly what she did to her kid, was sort of the whole judging. Oh, his shirt's hanging out. Oh, he should have combed his hair. Oh, instead of smiling when the kid walked in. So try smiling the next time you see your child and see what the difference is. And start really looking at those strengths. Sometimes the strength can be a negative to us. So curiosity, for example, I had a parent tell me the other night, oh, my child is so curious. He never stops asking questions. And I said, okay, there's a little girl named Cassidy who never stopped asking questions, had a problem with the crayons breaking, figured out how to put them in a flower holder, created the crayon holder, and has made it work because she asked so many questions. Do you think her mom is now complaining about asking questions? How things work? Why don't they work this way? Okay, so sometimes what we think is a negative quality can be a positive one, and some of those things like persistence is really something that some kids have, and persistently doing something that you don't want them to do when they're 2, but they are very good at it later on. Helping to build on the qualities. This is the questions that you can be asking. When your child might be doing something, say an out-of-school activity, and is the child doing it for me or is the child doing it for herself? And a mom told me about her child who was 10 years old, who had been playing piano and was about to do the grade 5 piano exam, and came to her mom and said, so when I'm done the piano exam, can I quit? And I was like, wow, why would she want to quit? It turned out that she was doing it for her dad, who was a music teacher, not for herself. So did she enjoy the challenge of learning piano? No. Did she seem to be progressing?
No.
Yes, because she was moving from book 1 to book 2 to book 3. She was trying the grade 5 exam. So the parent was, well, she was progressing, okay. Did she have a feeling, a sense of accomplishment? Did she feel she accomplished something? She came home with the grade 5 exam, the results said, there you go, I did it, now I quit. No sense of accomplishment at all, right? Okay, have an interest in something without the skills. Clearly she was skilled at playing the piano. She had tenacity. She still did it even though her mom and dad didn't know she didn't want to do it. But she didn't want to work on those skills. What she wanted to do was play on a team, because her friends were playing. She wanted to go play soccer, I think it was. Did she have those skills? Well, maybe she hadn't played on a team before, so she may not have had that skill or that character of being a good team player. She could learn, and it was something that she wanted to do. So they ended up saying, you can quit piano, and yes, you can do something else. But it took us a conversation at the age of 10 before they realized. So sometimes we assume things as parents that it's not true, and we have to be careful with that. So if you can answer all those questions in the positive, and we'll probably do them okay. But if they're not necessarily, then that's when you can start to talk to them about what they might want to do. So I like the idea that your child wants to do something about bullying, but you're letting him figure out what the issue is that he wants to, or how he wants to go about doing it, rather than pushing him. You can come up with some ideas, but the child should be the one making the choice. So we build in stages. We learn to make decisions slowly. It starts letting them make a decision, which outfit are you going to wear to school, not whether you're going to school. What are you going to eat that's healthy? Is it an apple and orange? Not if you're going to eat healthily. And it just grows higher and higher and higher. Resisting pressure, resisting that whole thing of, in grade 3 or 4, sometimes the girls will start doing this, I don't like you today, and so they'll want to push that child away. If that child is your child's best friend, you can play that what-if game. What if they did that to your best friend? What would you do? Well, I would still be the best friend, but they would have to act independently and maybe go and have lunch with the best friend while the other kids were all saying she's not good. And this happens in the classroom, in recess at a very young age. If you have a teenager and somebody who is the designated driver picks everybody up and goes to the party, and then the designated driver decides to have a drink or 2 or 3, what is your kid play the what-if game? What happens if Charlie's going to do that? What are you going to do? Are you going to come home with Charlie and all the others? Or are you going to resist the pressure and say, I'm not going with Charlie because he's been drinking? You act independently, and what are you going to do? And this actually happened in our family, where the child had to call mom and dad to not only pick her up, but pick up the friend who had been drinking because she couldn't drive a car. And luckily the friend would get in our car and go home. Things like that you can talk to them before it happens, so that you can start making sure that your child has a lot of resilience. So, in finishing, sometimes we can look at character, sometimes we're only looking for achievement. You can look at things in 2 different ways, right? That report card has both things on it. So who sees a duck here? Who sees a bunny? Okay, same picture, but you can see it both ways, and that's what I want you to start doing with that. It's not dropping the achievement and not worrying about the marks at all, it's having the combination of the 2. And with that, I thank you very much. It's been